that over here to Tom.
Hey, thank you, Chief Lloyd, for the introduction. Really appreciate everyone joining us here today. As he mentioned, we're going to go through a few slides that make up our DFR system. Then we will ultimately jump right into the software. I'm located out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but where we'll be flying a drone at today is in our engineering headquarters in Houston, Texas. So we're going to be able to show how we're able to do that safely, compliantly from a remote location all over cellular connectivity. Before we do so, I'm going to go through a few slides and just tell you a little bit more about our program, so I can go ahead and share my screen. And if everyone can see this okay, just wanted to really preface, what is DFR and what is Paladin, right? So Paladin is a full service drone program. We're an out-of-the-box solution. We decided to take the systematic approach because we noticed how a lot of agencies were piecemealing together their drone programs. So our goal is to give you everything that you would need to be as optimized as anyone else would be across the country. This all starts with legal infrastructure.
Hang on 1 second.
No problem.
They don't have their screens up, so we're getting their screens up.
Okay.
It was our fault.
No problem at all.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Okay. All right. You may proceed.
Excellent. So it all is going to start with the legal infrastructure. There are a few waivers that we are going to file on behalf of the city through the FAA to ensure that we're always within compliance. Those two waivers are going to be a certificate of authorization as well as a beyond visual line of sight waiver. Now, there's a few different ways we can legally fly these commercial sized drones. The one most commonly known way is via Part 107. A Part 107, each pilot individually will have to go study, take a test. That requires a cost, and then they're going to have to maintain a certain amount of flight hours to keep that license active. With the certificate of authorization, we're able to get a blanketed waiver known as Part 91. So anyone can become a pilot. They don't even need to be a sworn firefighter or a sworn police officer. It could be a dispatcher. It could be an analyst, and really make this program a force multiplier that you can have running on every shift. The second waiver we're going to receive is beyond visual line of sight, or BVLOS for short. This will allow us to fly that expanded range and not be able to see that drone with our physical eyeballs. The reason this waiver is needed is because we're not just flying off the controller using radio frequency like you would any other drone that is being used today. What we do with our flagship product, we can think of this as a supercomputer. It sits on top of those compatible drones and it connects you to LTE cellular service. This connection is strong enough to get us out 5+ miles on a single flight, and you don't have to be anywhere close to that drone. It is going to also connect you to our proprietary software Watchtower, which is a cloud-based system. You will be able to access this software from anywhere in the world that you have internet access. All you need is a login, and you can fly autonomously or you can fly manually. We can share this live feed to as many people as we'd like, whether that be responding units, command staff, mutual aid agencies, even city officials. If you want to follow along and see what is happening there on scene, you can do so. We have some great integrations with other technology companies in the space. We can also integrate with your CAD system as well as GIS maps. We give you unlimited storage for all the recordings that you may need to store, flight logs, anything for an investigation or compliance is going to be held within this software. We also offer an ADS-B receiver. This is going to pick up other manned aircraft in the area and allow us to detect and avoid the airspace in tandem to training other city officials and firefighters, police officers, how to locate things that may be collision hazards and communicate that back to your remote pilot. We do also offer a live stream function. So if you did want to fly this off the controller itself and not utilize the LTE, you can do that. There are smaller drones that may not make sense to have this expanded range, but those you'd still be able to use for other purposes, indoor activities, and you can still live stream that directly from the controller or as well through the software. As far as the equipment that we're offering here, we have a partnership with DJI. They are one of the largest drone manufacturers in the world. The reason why we partnered with DJI is because they are the absolute best in every category: flight time, camera rating, as well as IP rating, which means it's going to stand up best to weather conditions. Now, it is manufactured in China. There is some geopolitical tension surrounding foreign-made drones, but nothing that we really foresee having any effect in California or across the country anytime soon. If anything were to happen to these devices, we do also have an American-made alternative as a business continuity plan. So this is a drone that we manufacture in Houston, Texas. It is a great drone, but we're the first to tell you it comes second place to the world leader. So we want the best to be in your hands. If anything happens where we're restricted from using the best, we can swap that out, no additional cost, and you'll be able to continue operations without missing a beat. The next piece of hardware that we offer are docking stations. These are housing units for that drone. So as Chief mentioned, this will be stationed on top of a building. As that call comes into our software via the CAD system, you're able to select the address you want that drone to deploy to, hit start. This box will open up. Your drone is going to beeline off the roof and get anywhere within that 5-mile radius in about 90 seconds or less. This will allow you to significantly decrease your response time while also increasing your situational awareness, having an idea of what you're rolling up to. So as Chief mentioned, we can confirm that we're at the correct address. We can confirm if we need to send more units or less. We can even determine if this call is able to be cleared. We're hearing back from our current partners that they're able to clear between about 10 and 30% of their daily 911 calls per day by utilizing DFR. In that return, we can calculate a return on your investment. We can shave off from the gas budget, from the vehicle maintenance budget, even over time, how many people need to staff each shift by utilizing just getting to the scene faster. We also do have some other great camera features like a thermal scope. So if we are arriving to a structure fire, we may be able to locate a hot spot or an entry point. It's really key for missing persons if we wanted to do nighttime operations and much more. But essentially, this docking station is going to give you the hands-off ability to deploy this drone at any time. So while it is within this dock, it has got an HVAC system keeping its temperature in the ideal conditions, and it also will charge the drone only about a 25-minute turnaround time to get a full charge out of this dock. We do also offer accessories. This is a dropping mechanism. We've seen use case where agencies want to fly out key items like Narcan, AEDs, or even flotation devices and drop them to a scene down below. We have the ability to do that and a few other great things that are on our roadmap as we continue to adapt with this changing industry. So that is our system here. It's really all meant to withstand the changes that are happening and really protect the investment that the city is making. We really like to highlight the fact that we are designed specifically for you all. So police, fire, EMS is all we work with. We don't do anything in the private sector, nothing with the military. We think DFR makes the largest impact in our local communities around the country. So that's where we keep our full attention. Some problems that we're overcoming with our current clients and want to overcome in South Pasadena are staffing shortages and resource allocation issues. So you could have someone deploy this drone from a remote location, and as Chief mentioned, you could hand off those controls to someone on the scene. If that person is needed back on the scene, they can hand back off the controls, and it'll allow you to keep more boots on the ground. As far as increased expenses and budget scrutiny, our pricing model is all inclusive. So there's no guessing year over year what it will cost the department, and you're getting much more than just software and hardware. You'll also receive the maintenance on the fleet, the training that you need, as well as always maintaining your legal compliance. That is our last couple boxes down here. The administrative paperwork and the compliance reporting that goes into having a successful drone program, making sure if you ever need anything for an investigation or for the FAA, that you're able to go in and get that at a moment's notice in our software. So why Paladin? We're modern, we're the easy to use product, and we're built to last. So once our device is on that compatible drone, we're able to push out new updates and features that may be available on newer models that are released after we form our agreement. Anything on our roadmap, you'll have access to, and it'll be at no additional cost. So you are the beneficiary of anything that we create, and that is in hopes to keep your hardware in its best health for a longer period of time. Where Paladin really stands out in the industry, in my opinion, is when it comes to onboarding, training, and ongoing support. So those FAA papers only take us on average about 15 to 45 days. The industry over 6 months. So we have a very streamlined process and a good working relationship with the FAA. They know exactly what kind of safety features we have in place that can remove human error. So that's how we've been able to streamline that. Once we get those waivers approved, we come hands-on and we deliver this equipment and we'll train the entire staff. So we're going to train pilots, we're going to train trainers, and we'll also be training visual observers. Past that, once we leave, we offer unparalleled support. You'll never get a 1-800 number from Paladin. You'll never get a ticket queue system. We offer you a dedicated support engineer, real person that you'll know on a first name basis and be able to get your questions answered at a moment's notice. A few different references here, coast to coast. I've sent them out to Chief, but happy to supply as many references as you would like to speak with, agencies who are using our system today, and hear not only that our software works as we say it does, but that level of partnership that Paladin provides as well. Then we do have some trusted partners, like I mentioned earlier, some of the biggest names in the industry. We're also proudly open API. So anything that you all may be utilizing that you don't see on the screen, we will not charge you for those integrations. All we need is the back-end access from the other company, and we can get that customized during our implementation process. Were there any thoughts, questions, feedback here before we jump into the software and take flight?
So I heard this question. Are you able to pull that? Sorry. Are you able to pull that pricing up on your presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our price sheet here. It is all inclusive, as I mentioned, and it is broken down between one-time purchase of equipment as well as our recurring fee for the software, the training, the maintenance of waivers, and the rest of the package. So due to our partnership with DJI, we're able to offer some exclusive discounts here on any drone that you may be looking to purchase. We're really looking at the set, the M30T and the docking station together as $15,000. This retails over $30,000, so you're getting over a 50% discount. After that first year, you own it. You would only pay the additional software fee from that point forward. So it's $49,000 per year is what we've quoted, and that is with everything included, and we can honor that. So we actually had an adjustment where we separated the equipment and the software, but we can still honor that through the end of this year for you all since we've already sent that quote. So it would be $49,000 per year for the one drone, one dock. If you wanted to add additional drones in the future, you could do so. You pay for that. And then if we need to add the additional EXT module, we can do that. If we need to add another docking station, we can do that as well. You may have muted me, Chief. I'm not hearing you.
Alex, we're gonna go ahead and just turn you over to, go ahead back to the flight.
Okay, perfect. Any questions outstanding I could answer?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, all the, we talked a little bit about legality stuff in those things, so, we can address that at the end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and pull up our software. You'll notice that it's cloud-based, as I mentioned. So I'm going to stay on Google Chrome, just switch tabs here, and I'll full screen it so we have a better view. Easy username and password to log in. Access it anywhere in the world. All you need is internet. This is a test profile, so we've got a lot of past flights that are going to populate. We're going to start at Watchtower and go through each of these tabs individually to show the whole function. So we're doing some testing across the country. We can zoom in from a 10,000-foot view down to street level here, and this is our headquarters in Houston, Texas. So we have a few devices that were able to fly today. I've had one of my engineers in Houston set us up a drone, and we are going to be flying on Paladin 53. So if one of these drones was in the air, if this had already been deployed and maybe it was on scene, we would actually see these drones moving across this map. And based on what your naming conventions are and your permission of either a pilot or a spectator, you could view that or you could take over control with proper training. But I'm just going to open up Paladin 53. This drone today is not in a docking station. This was just placed on our rooftop. So it's going to be a stationary deployment. If it was within the dock, just a couple extra buttons here to open and close that. But we have a drone that is turned on. If you all can see the live feed here on the left-hand upper corner is our LTE connectivity. So there's no one in Houston utilizing a remote. I'm flying from over 1,000 miles away in Charlotte, North Carolina off of my laptop, only using LTE. On the upper right-hand corner of that feed, we have two sets of recordings. So we have a cloud storage. You can record as much as you like. It is unlimited storage there. And you can also record locally down to the SD card on the drone itself. All that cloud footage is backed by AWS, Amazon Web Services, and only the department would have access to that. So we won't be able to see it, but you have two sets there that you could have on always, or you could have your preferred that you choose, and you can cut them on and off at your convenience. Down below here, we have the dashboard. So your battery, speed, altitude, estimated time arrival, and distance from home. This has got built-in safety features throughout to ensure that we're not, running out of battery while we're in the air, anything like that. It is going to always be communicating within itself. Over here on the right, we have Google Maps. So this is the same Google Maps that you all would use to get around town regularly. We do have some great integrations. Like I mentioned, if we have the CAD system integrated, you'll see a box populate on the lower left-hand side of this map with a blurb of that call, whether it's car fire, and it will give you either a coordinate or an address. You select that, hit start, the drone will take off and head that direction. You don't need to have that CAD system integration though. We can always type in a destination address here up through the search bar, and it's going to give you the closest area or the closest in your area for that address. We could also do the name of a business. We could do latitude, longitude coordinates, or we could even simply drop a pin. So let's say we've got a call that has come in. We got a car fire in the Kroger parking lot. We want to get there as quickly as possible. So I drop my pin at Kroger. All I have to do now is hit start. This drone is going to lift off, and then it's going to beeline for that scene. So where we are in Houston, Texas, at our HQ, it is a restricted airspace. It's Class E. So we've preset the altitude to about 200 feet. It's going to get right up to that ceiling. It's going to adjust that coordinate, and then we will be on our way. So we are almost at that altitude now. It is going to make its adjustments. And what you'll notice is this straight line, as we begin to move that direction, is going to adjust around these red boxes. So it is since done so. And what these red boxes are advanced geofencing. So we put this up custom during our implementation. Any sort of buildings, trees, power lines that we would potentially collide with are going to be rerouted around as this drone flies autonomously. So I'm hands-free. I'm not controlling this drone. I just told it where to go. And now it is avoiding this building and this building to demonstrate how it can reroute itself autonomously. This gives us that hands-free ability to communicate to whoever needs to know that this drone is inbound. And you can see as we move farther away from our takeoff point, the distance from home is calculating. That's always also talking to the battery percentage. So the drone knows exactly how much battery it needs to get back for its takeoff point. Usually we preset it to land back at about 10 to 20% just to ensure that we're not going to run out of battery. So ultimately, you can override that if you wanted to land this drone at the scene. Maybe a battalion chief brought an additional set of batteries. You could land that drone, swap out the batteries, and put it back up to continue operations without having to send it back. Once this drone arrives on the scene, we'll hit stop and the drone is going to hover in place. Now, we typically face the horizon to respect the privacy of our citizens, but we can adjust that camera at any time. Use arrows on the screen or a few other ways I'll demonstrate momentarily. And now we've arrived. We made it just less than 1 full mile for time's sake. We can gladly push this out farther to demonstrate the range, but for time's sake, just wanted to keep it close by. And again, there's no limit to that LTE. The range with LTE is limitless. We're more so limited by the battery percentage. On average, with this size quadcopter, we're looking at about a 30-minute flight time. So if we did arrive here first, we got here in about 60 seconds, then we are going to hit send alerts. I can send this to as many people as I'd like. I can either copy this link and I can send it as an email. Maybe I'll send it as a Teams chat. However, we're communicating to the masses. We can send that as many people that can access it at once. We can also have this preloaded with individual cell phone numbers. So we could send it right to the chief. We could send it right to, the police chief. We could create groups as well. If we wanted to send to all of administration at the fire department, if we want to send to first shift, second shift, so we can have those groups pre-made, and that will get you a text directly to your phone. I can send this and just add numbers, and what that will do will allow you to send that alert. It is going to populate right on your own device. You'll see it in 1080p HD, clearer than what you actually are seeing through Zoom because you're within the software as a guest. Now, just for time's sake, I'm not going to share it today, but I can demonstrate what the other camera features that are available on this drone are. And so this is our wide angle camera, just going to give you the largest view of that scene. We do also have a thermal scope, as I mentioned, with 10 different hues. So this is a white hot, these heat signatures moving in that parking lot. We can even zoom in, zoom out. It makes it really great for those nighttime operations, search and rescue in a dense area, also hotspots, entry points into structure fires. One of the best features on this drone and what makes it the best camera in the market is this 200x zoom capability. So from 200 feet up, if we wanted to attempt to read a license plate, I can adjust this camera again many different ways. So just clicking anywhere on this feed is going to adjust our crosshairs here. If I were to select this gamepad mode, now I'm able to actually unlock my keyboard or a controller of my choosing. So if a pilot at the fire department would rather use joysticks, they could use an Xbox or PlayStation controller to have that same joystick feel as the remote control. But I will zoom in now, again, just using my keyboard here, and we'll demonstrate how clear this camera is. So we can get a clear read here, but still have some room to go. Able to stay farther back, remain undetected if we are doing something that is, a planned operation, and it is going to give us a super clear visual on the scene. Can even be used to look through a window if you wanted to see maybe an interior room that could have caught fire, you name it. So that is the camera features that are available on this drone. I'll go back out to the wide angle. And at this point, like I mentioned, I've only really told this drone where to go and it flew itself. So I haven't had to actually fly this device myself, but I can fly manually when that gamepad mode is selected. If we arrive to this scene and maybe this wasn't the correct parking lot where that car was on fire, we got bad information from the 911 call, I have the ability to manually control this drone, again, just using my keyboard. So I'm using my ASWD keys to swing this drone around, and now I have full discretion to get to that next scene, see if I can't locate where that smoke may be coming from, and get onto the correct location. So I'm not worried about running into things, buildings, trees, power lines. We've got the geofences in place, and this drone does have built-in detect and avoid software in it as well. If you were ever curious as to where the drone was flying over and you were urgently needing to determine that without having to take your eyes off of this screen and view your map, we do have also an augmented reality feature, which will pull up live the street names, house numbers, building numbers. We can turn on outlines as well. If we were to go wide angle, you can see that live as you fly. We can also go back into the autonomy at any time. So you're not married to that initial pin. If we were to drop a new pin, I can select start. This drone is going to adjust. And now we are inbound, less than a half a second of latency, and it will also reroute us around the geofencing. If we were to move this pin again, it is going to react, half a second of latency, and now it's on its way to its next pin. If I ever at any point wanted to stop the drone, all I have to do is hit stop and it will hover in place. And whenever we're ready to send this drone back home, we only have to hit one more button, return to home, and that will come right back to where we took off from. So if you did take off from a docking station, return to home, it will land right where it started within that dock. It will re-encapsulate. It will begin charging itself. If you take it with you to a scene and launch it off the ground next to a fire engine, it's going to land right there within inches of where it took off from, next to the fire engine from the scene. So this does have a mobile element too. You're always free to grab that drone out of the dock if you did need to assist a neighboring agency or any other use case. If you were to ever get disconnected from LTE, if you went through a bad patch, we do work with all major carriers and we'll do extensive testing in the area to make sure that you're on the best provider. But for whatever reason, if you were to lose connectivity altogether, that drone knows to return itself back home if it can't reestablish a connection in about 10 to 15 seconds. Now, right now, those modules are one SIM card per, but we are in R&D for a multi-SIM module. So that is on our roadmap, hoping to have that released in the next couple of months when the new year rolls around. So if you had both SIMs, if you had a T-Mobile and a FirstNet SIM, if you were to get disconnected for whatever reason from T-Mobile, it would also be able to then pick up the AT&T FirstNet or vice versa. But this drone is making its way back down now. It does have that precision landing. We do have a landing pad within a root code on the roof. It is going to lock into that landing pad and it will land precisely where we started. If that pad was covered, if there was people there in the way or a vehicle, it would just hover in place before the coast is clear before bringing itself back down. And just like that, we are right back where we started. A couple other things to point out on our map here. We do have a weather widget. You can see here the wind speed and the forecast. We also would get wind warnings. So based on what the wind speed is, we do have a yellow, orange, and red alert that will pop up. That IP55 rating is up to winds for about 30 to 35 miles per hour, light rain, light snow. And we will train on pilot discretion on what is safe to fly in and what is not. The ADS-B that I had mentioned to detect and avoid manned aircraft. If we select this plane icon and I wanted to zoom out of this map, I can see really any air traffic within a 20-mile radius. Currently, it is just the icon. Most things, planes, fixed wings, are not going to be flying around that 400-foot mark. So we're primarily looking out here for helicopters, whether it be life flight landing at a hospital that may be in the city, or also news choppers as well. So we do have an update that is slotted for end of the year that will hopefully be adding the knots of how fast that aircraft is moving, as well as their altitude in feet. Is there any thoughts, questions, feedback on the flight itself?
You explain what the size of the drone is physically.
Yeah, absolutely. So the drone itself is roughly about, in grams, I would have to double check with that. Let me ask one of my engineers if they know the specifications, but I would say it's roughly about the size of a small toaster oven. And I can show you exactly what that looks like from one of our current partners here. This is Elizabeth Police Department in New Jersey. So this is the docking station. I know this is 250 pounds. It is heated and cooled. Will protect you from the elements. That is going to open up directly. And this is the M30T that integrates with the docking station. You can see our EXT module right on top. The main door's open. It does have these charging putters that will connect to the legs to maintain your charge, and it takes right off. Now it will reverse that sequence on the way down, right? It's going to remain open, lands right on that landing pad. Charging putters will connect. The outer doors will encapsulate the drone.
Like, where,
I can get you the exact spec sheet and send it over to you after the fact, if that would be helpful.
okay.
Any other questions there?
So you're talking about proximity, does it have proximity sensors, so it's not gonna bump into stationary objects? And then the avoidance with other aircraft.
Absolutely. So it does have built-in detect and avoid. It's got cameras and sensors around it to prevent it from colliding with anything. We do have the geofencing and the altitude ceilings that we can adjust to prevent it from running into anything, to accompany what comes with it from the manufacturer. And then when it comes to detecting and avoiding the airspace, we utilize what's known as the ADS-B, as well as a network of visual observers. So the FAA is allowing us to fly beyond visual line of sight as long as we have individuals who are trained within a 2-mile radius of this airspace. We think of this 5-mile radius that the drone can travel in. If we have officers on patrol, 2 or 3 will check that box for compliance, and they will then be trained on how to communicate to a remote pilot, as well as what to call out, right? Rapid changes in weather, ground hazards that may be non-permanent, because the permanent ones we will geofence during implementation. But if there is something like a crane that's put into the city temporarily, we can update those maps and add geofencing. But if it's same day that you notice it, just radioing that back to the dispatcher, who may be your remote pilot, as well as other aircraft that you may see enter the airspace, and you want that pilot to avoid the area until it's cleared.
slide.
Absolutely.
Show the 9 o'clock. Override the geofencing.
You cannot. If you are flying manually and you get within a certain distance to that geofencing, it will stop the drone from moving forward and have you back away from the geofencing, giving you a green light that you can continue from there.
What's the maintenance downtime on
So
them and how long with the drone be out of service?
yeah, absolutely. So our system uptime is actually 99.9% of the time. So we will let you know ahead of time when updates will take place, and those are usually done in hours where the drone typically isn't going to be used. Ultimately, as far as the lifetime of the product, I would say it's going to depend on usage. But if you are, still under contract with us in that premium package, then it covers maintenance, repairs, and replacements. So if you do need any drone repair, we take care of that. If your drone is unrepairable, we are going to replace it with the, equivalent of it at that time on the market.
Would that include a motor if it was down for an extended period of time?
Absolutely.
How many times has Paladin drones crashed?
To my knowledge, out of thousands of flights completed per month, I believe there's 2 crashes outside of a test environment.
Any injuries or damage?
There was no injuries nor damage, so I believe it just got too close to a tree. Another thing that Paladin offers is that we are going to add you to our liability insurance, and you're covered up to $2 million per incident if anything were to be damaged.
To override hackers taking control of the drone?
So we are actually releasing a multi-factor authentication that should be live through Google or Azure by the end of this year. So we can make that a deliverable on our end as well.
What's the cost to get everybody up and running, or is that included in the package?
All inclusive. So upfront training as well as ongoing training, and we can train on an as needed basis. Thank you for the questions.
So are there any specific solar applications that they can use for charging the system, or is it just based on line shore power?
It would be hardwired and it requires, I believe, 110 to 250 volts. So if we were able to set up a solar power source, I'm sure we could adapt to that as well.